I started to edit this podcast because of some issues that I had. My computer had run out of battery, and because it had run out of battery, it had messed with OBS, and OBS didn't capture my computer audio, and I had to, like, edit out the parts that it didn't, or else it would just be silence, and me not talking, and you not listening to anything, and I was just like, I'll just cut it. So, it's not as good as I wanted it to be, but here's my initial reaction to Night City Wire Episode 2.
It's out of my hand, but I'm still in control. It's out of my hands. You can never take away the power of my soul.
Yeah, 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 yeah! Yeah, yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome. Hold on. There we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We got a great one today. An absolute stellar announcement made by CD Projekt Red on Friday. Fresh out of nowhere. I didn't expect it. I don't think anybody did. CD Projekt Red's second episode, Night City Wire. I'm going to be covering all of it, every single second, ladies and gentlemen, right here on 24's Podcast. By the by, did you see... Oh, wait, hold on. My bad. There we go. Let me go back. Did you see Dr. Disrespect? He came back on Friday. I was doing a whole bunch of research and stuff like that for a video later on. This week, excuse me. I saw him come back. It was amazing. I heard that song, Alleyways, triple platinum, quadruple platinum. The doc is back. It's confirmed. He's great. So... a little bit of a disclaimer. I don't necessarily know how I'm going to tackle this whole live stream. I'm going to be watching this, I think, like a couple of hours after it was released. So we're going to spend as much time as we want. We'll look for some other gameplay, some B-roll potentially that people have that they released fresh after this video, or specifically this live stream. Also, I read the entire... I don't know what it's called, but it was a book made by Dark Horse Comics. It's a 196-page book. Technically, it's a, what's it called? Like a freaking tome. That's what they refer to it as. And I took like 10 pages of notes. I have a lot of context that's been added about to Cyberpunk 2077, so I'll be able to talk about some of the nuances of the game that we're going to see. I'll probably watch most of it, and then I'll pause it, and then we'll go back, and then we'll cover everything else. But I don't want to delay any further, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get. Oh wait, my bad. God dang it. Let's get right into Cyberpunk 2077 Night City Wire live stream number 2.
You don't believe in no fate. Every day digging the grave. Step in the pit with the stakes. City of dreams, city of...
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Night City Wire. This is the show from us at CD Projekt Red, where we talk about all things Cyberpunk 2077. In today's episode, we're going to be deep diving into Life Paths and showing you a brand new gameplay video, as well as having a chat to Philip from our quest team. Then we're going behind the scenes and taking a look at how Refused to bringing the band Samurai to life. And then we're showing you another new gameplay video and having a chat to Pavel, our senior gameplay designer, about just some of the tools of destruction that will be at your disposal in Night City. So let's get started. Street Kid, Nomad, or Corpo?
So
which
hold on.
would you pick?
Hold on. Frick's sake. Hold on. All right. Perfect time to pause here. for the context of what we're probably going to be shown, we're probably going to be shown off the 3 different play styles, or technically the character backgrounds that you can have: the street kid, the nomad, the corpo. They're probably going to get into it more, so I won't necessarily like pause it for that long. But each different way, or each different backstory that you have, will affect not only kind of the prologue of the game, but also certain mechanics that you have within the game, certain dialogue options that you have throughout the game as well. And I think they're going to cover it here, but I'll just see what exactly they cover and stuff like that. We'll see.
Well, who do we have here?
Grew up in Haywood. Whole street was my family. Neighbors helped each other out. Thought nothing of it.
I'm pleased to see you have not forgotten your roots.
Born here, live here, die here.
Childhood memories. Hopping buildings, running away from badges. Iron tasted blood from a split lip.
Motherfucker!
Got everybody fighting for a slice of the street.
Get the fuck out of Vista.
If you keep getting jumped, you find some stronger tubers.
Do you want to spend the rest of your days blasting scabs? Or become a legend overnight?
We have arrived. The Major.
Ready to get your cherry bobbed? Yeah, come on!
My childhood? Let's see. Racing my bobber for the first time through the hills? Oh, and first kiss in the middle of a synth cornfield.
We nomads choose who to make our family. And choice forges strong bonds and a higher duty that stands solid as an old oak.
My family's in pieces. That's why I'm headed for Night City.
Makes you an outcast among outcasts.
Miss this, you know? Camaraderie.
I know. I saw it in your heart the first time we met. You know what I always liked about nomads? Your taste, no, hunger for freedom. Not easy to come by in Night City. Corp's got their grubby claws and everything.
I have those reports you asked for.
They were supposed to be ready yesterday.
The world's going to tear us apart when the word gets around.
The world's never going to find out.
If I go down, you're going down with me. No! I'm not fucking joking!
This isn't a request, V. But no way you're fucked, right? You're the one who fixes other people's shit.
If you work in Arasaka counter intel, you're always fucked.
Today, they got you to zero somebody. Tomorrow, they'll get somebody else to zero you.
What's the rules, Jack? Want to be top? Gotta have some skin in the game.
Yeah, but you're not on top. It's a borough Arasaka is. And you're the pendejo who keeps him there. Work for yourself, live for yourself. That's the only way.
Awesome. So they added a whole bunch of... Okay, here we go. Let me freaking go back here. So they added a bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about, and I'll be able to talk about because of how the trailer is formed. Sorry if this isn't necessarily how I want it to go. And also, by the way, sorry that if you can hear like all of my fans. I have like 3 fans going. It's like midday in the summer in the South, so you'll probably be able to hear everything. So let's kind of go back and let's break this down, right? Let's look at the street kid, the nomad, and the corporal. First and foremost, what does all this stuff mean? What's the difference between a street kid, a nomad, and a corpo? Well, the street kid is the kid that grew up in Night City, and I think they talked about Haywood, and in the book that I was reading, Haywood is a part of like a poor sub-district in Night City. There's certain districts like Charter Hill and this other district where mid-level corpos, they live in. You know, these are like the upper middle class, like Charter Hill and I think Oakwood. I think that's what it's called. But those are like the rich side of town. The poor, pretty much every other part of town is poor. And Haywood specifically, like depending on where you live in Haywood, it can be better or it can be worse. Now, the street kid, because you lived on the streets and because you grew up among gangs, you have these interpersonal connections with these gang members. You have the ability, you know, to interact with these people, and you know these people because you grew up with these people. The difference between the street kid and the nomad is, and they kind of hit upon it, was the nomad, they're kind of this roaming band of, I guess a modern day equation would be like the gypsies, where they were like the gypsies in like, I guess, Europe. I don't know if that's like an offensive term or not. But essentially the nomads, they are a rolling and moving caravan throughout the new United States. That's what it's called. It's called NASA, the new United States of America. They roam around. They would prefer not to be in cities. They would prefer to live on their own and accept odd jobs here and there. And they live pretty much in and out of their cars, and they set up shops in like abandoned towns where they work. So that way they can have these, you know, these small communities wherever they are. They're kind of like, they're like modern day gypsies and a little bit like Indian tribes that were kind of roaming around, I guess, the Western Plains in search of like buffaloes, you know, and not in search of buffaloes, but like moving with the buffalo herds, right? And then you finally have the corpos, which they are what they sound like. The corpo is the person that essentially works with, or not with, but in a mega corporation, and in this case it seems to be Arasaka. And in this particular case, it seems like you're a not a megacorp, but like a mid-level corp. So you're not in the poverty line, you're actually above the poverty line significantly. And the whole like issue with being a corpo is that as a corpo, your whole like concept is you're trying to backstab everyone. You're trying to get a leg up on everybody. So usually that means not only sabotaging your partners in your mega corporation, but also the enemy or the opponents, I guess, of the other mega corporations. Like Arasaka is this big competitor of Militech, so you would be competing directly with Militech agents as well as directly with members and mid-level corpos within Arasaka as well. And I'll kind of point out what some of that stuff means. Also, by the way, I think that it's interesting, some of these, like, whatever this is, some of the, like, the data points that they're showing, or whatever this chip is, I don't know what it is, and then it goes into Life Pass. Maybe they're planning on scheduling more things like this. Maybe not more things, I guess, but, like, a format like this going forward, but I don't know. So they're kind of going to get into it right now. I saw something interesting with the street kid that I'll talk about, but here is kind of an example of this where you have connections with these two people. They could be selling you a weapon. They could be selling you drugs. I don't know. But this looks like a poorer side of town, as opposed to like Central Plaza, which is where all of the mega corporations are, which is kind of like the nicer side of town. And once again, Charter Hill and Oakwood, I think that's what it's called. And this looks like Valentino territory. Valentinos, they're kind of like a Latino gang within Night City, and it's just because of the tag. Like, you know, the Valentinos, they're kind of about, like, you know, they have like that Catholic vibe to them, where they have like a cross and stuff like that, and the colors, which are like a reddish, yellowish, like red, maybe not reddish yellowish, but like this red plus this yellow, like that's their colors. This looks like their tag. This looks like Valentino territory. So, I have no idea who that is. But some of these guys, just based upon, like, their tattoos, like, this looks kind of like an angel, and this is obviously a cross, so I would assume that this guy is a Valentino as well, and again, this kind of looks like somebody with a thorn or thorns in his head, so I'm assuming, once again, these are Valentinos. In fact, you can kind of see right here the V for the Valentinos, so again, these look like members of that gang. No idea who that is. But apparently this is the district where you grew up in, and they show the night that essentially your life changed, and it looks like part of this is a part of the mission that you were on that kind of helped you meet up with Jackie. This is the part that really, really interested me. So, Night City, or not Night City, CD Projekt Red confirmed that there's street racing. And I was interested to see, like, what type of cars, what type of vehicles were in the street races. And it's like, there's car brands in Night City, and there's different versions of the Quadra. The Quadra is the car that you get from Jackie, either because he dies or he gives it to you. I don't know what happens, but you get the car, right? And this car right here looks like another edition of the Quadra, like a newer version. I think the Quadra that you own and you have is like from the 2060s. It's obviously 2077, so it's like a 17-year-old car, whereas this kind of is like the newer model, it looks like, of the Quadra. I think it's called the Quadra R Turbo or something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, this also is like a more expensive car, and kind of judging by this guy's clothes and somewhat this girl's clothes, it looks like these two are corpos. So, context-wise, I guess they look like corpos. And also the car that they're driving looks like, you know, a really, really expensive car, or one of the expensive cars. I think it's called a Rayfield, which is like the high-end car that you can get in Night City. And obviously you're fighting with the animals. And then that looks like, I think, the leader of the Moxes. And then it's just like kind of a bunch of footage that they've already shown off. This is interesting, this Afterlife Club. I'll get into that later on in the week, unless they address that here. But I don't necessarily want to talk about it until, unless they address it here. I'll talk about the Afterlife later on. Look for a video later on in the week talking about the Afterlife Club if you're interested in that. So then they move on from the street kid to the nomad, and a lot of what they show off is exactly what I've said. You know, they live in these souped-up cars because they're in a roaming caravan, as evident by all these people here. It looks like they're a little bit outside of a major city, probably Night City, or I have no idea what this is, but these look like giant, like, skyscraper advertisements or something. I don't know what those are, but those kind of look like Night City. But again, they take over these, and by take over, I mean they just kind of move into these abandoned towns. They don't forcefully take over. Nomads are very peaceful, except for rogue nomads. Then they get violent and stuff like that. But mostly nomads are peaceful, and they just roam around and they do stuff like that. So it seems like your character is abandoning his nomad clan because his clan is disbanding, or it's broken, or whatever. I don't know. But apparently that's what's going on here with this nomad group. And because you're a nomad, because you're not a official citizen of Night City, you actually have to like go through border security, because Night City is a free city, kind of like, I guess, how Hong Kong is like its own territory, its own country per se. That's essentially what Night City is. It's smack dab in the middle of California, so that's why you have this like gigantic border wall with this like high security checkpoint. It's because like it's a protected city. Can't necessarily make sure that anybody and everybody goes through. I have no idea who this is, by the way. Like, when she first appeared, I was like, I have no idea who that is. She seems to be part of your clan, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know who she is. Or she seems to be maybe a handler of some sort, but I don't know. Again, just people going through border security. You meet Jackie. Apparently, he's going to help you with something. He's going to help you get into Night City. He's going to smuggle you in. This is kind of interesting, some of the combat and the off-road kind of driving. Obviously, this is a Night City in the background. But CD Projekt Red has mentioned that apparently, but depending on like the types of weapons that you use throughout the game, depends on like your proficiency of the weapon throughout the game. So apparently if you like constantly use one specific weapon, and if you level it up and if you're using it a lot, it apparently becomes like you're almost using like an aimbot in the game, and you don't really have to aim that much, and I'll kind of get into that later on. Also, this is some off-road driving. I don't know necessarily how customizable the cars are when it comes to this style of driving in the game, but what we're about to see is kind of like this stuff right here where he's like popping off shots with his revolver instead of just like taking this like slow ADS approach to it is really, really different, you know? Or at least I thought it was different from like what they were doing. And here is the Corpo. And this, by the way, this logo is the Arasaka logo. Just in case if you didn't know that. Like, this is one of the major players in Night City. This is the corporation that's competing with Militech. This is one of the corporations that rebuilt Night City, by the way. So they have a lot of pull and a lot of sway within this city alone just by this organization. And kind of what happens, and just because I've heard other people play the game and I've heard them talk about the game and I know this because of that. So apparently what happens to your character in the Corpo playstyle is that your character, surprisingly enough, gets betrayed by their boss, by their superior, so that way their boss, your superior, gets a leg up and you lose all of your money, you lose your apartment, and this is kind of an example of like this person saying, you can't betray me, you can't do this, and it's like, this is the life of being a Corpo, you know? This is your boss, I'm guessing, because they refer to you as V. But I mean, this is what being a Corpo is all about. You betray people to try and get a leg up, you hurt people, it's very, very immoral, I guess, and your boss is like, I don't know what all this stuff is, but your boss is gonna apparently betray you and rob you of all your money and stuff like that, so. And he even says it, he's like, hey, you know, I betrayed you, you were going to betray somebody else and stuff like that. So there you go. Once again, these are the Eddies. I don't necessarily know what exactly the like Corpo uniforms look like, but it's kind of obvious to tell whenever you're dealing with a Corpo or whenever you're dealing with like, I guess, a nomad or a street kid, because Corpos, they look more formal than informal, I guess. I'll just let it play on, and we'll discuss whatever they want to discuss later on.
Philip, it is so good to see you again. It's actually been a while since I've had a chance to interview you about Cyberpunk. So I think for today, we'll start with a question that everybody wants to know. How does the path you pick affect your time in Night City?
It actually affects your time quite a lot throughout the whole game, but let's start at the beginning, because basically our game has 3 different starts depending on your life path. As an example, if you choose the street kid life path, you have lived most of your time in Night City. You know the streets, you know the gangs, you know the slang, you kind of know what's going on in the, let's say, lower life aspects of the city, which can of course give you lots of good opportunities also later on in the game. But if you start as a nomad, you actually used to be part of a nomad clan and a nomad family, because nomads that roam the deserts around Night City, that we call the Badlands, actually value their family above anything. But for one reason or another, you actually left that family behind, and now the beginning of the game for you will actually be how to get into Night City and how to make a new life there. Then you can also choose to actually be a Corpo and choose the corporate life path. And that basically means that you're not at home in the streets of Night City or in the deserts of the Badlands, but actually inside the boardroom, because you rose the corporate ladder of the Arasaka Corporation, which basically gives you the ability to sometimes, read between the lines, read people when they're trying to do business, which of course can give you many nice opportunities later on.
So this isn't just about the start of the game. Can you maybe help people understand how this translates into the gameplay?
Yeah. So the thing is, we make Cyberpunk a real RPG, and part of that is that you can play your character from the start to the end. And of course, we have these life paths affecting the beginning of the game, but we wanted to make it so you have your life path opportunities throughout the whole game until the game is over. And as an example, we do that by giving you additional options and dialogues. So I can give you one specific example. And this is a mission where you have to steal a flathead robot from the Maelstrom gang. Basically, those Maelstromers stole that flathead before from a corporate transport. And the owner of that corporate transport, Meredith Stout, wants you to do something else. And this is an optional objective. And even within that objective, we want to give you some options. So as an example, if you have a corporate life path, you basically know what Meredith Stout is really about. You can read between the lines and you can get some additional options that maybe actually later enable you to do a completely different thing with the Maelstrom gang. And if you're a nomad, you know exactly some more details about how these Maelstromers would have even been able to steal a robot like that from Meredith Stout, who's part of the very powerful Militech Corporation. As a street kid, we as an example don't give you a specific new dialogue option in that dialogue, because as a street kid, you do not have a lot of experience dealing with higher up people like Meredith Stout. But we want to give you additional options that fit your life path very well. So later when you actually talk to the Maelstrom gang, one member of the gang offers you some illegal substance, but as a street kid, you actually know what this is about. You can talk some shop with him, and that might actually make that character like you a little bit more.
So Philip, I do have a couple of extra questions for you based...
So for a little bit of context about the Meredith Stout example that he uses, this example that he uses is, this is the 2018 gameplay that they showed off, obviously 2 years ago. So when it comes to this gameplay, the way that, like, he's talking about reading in between the lines, if you don't know anything about this gameplay, the 2018 clip, you get a chip with a bunch of money on it, like a cyber chip, I don't know what it's called. You get a chip with a bunch of money on it to pay for the bot. So instead of running into the gang of Maelstrom with guns blazing, I'm gonna kill all these guys, it's like, no, you just bargain with them. You say, hey, here's the money that's on this chip, take it. What Meredith Stout, this girl, what she doesn't tell you is that the chip is bugged, and it has a bunch of like malware on it that kills apparently people that are on the net that the bug was uploaded on it. Now, if you're a corpo, you can, like he's talking about reading in between the lines. As a corpo, you know that Meredith Stout, she's trying to use you to get a leg up in Militech because these are the same tactics that you use. So something doesn't feel right. You probably know, and in fact, the example that I heard was used, was that you know that Meredith Stout has bugged the chip. So you can apparently blackmail her. You can say, hey, I'm not doing this. Take the chip back. I'm not doing this. Or you can ask for more money or whatever. I heard it from somebody on Alana Pierce's show with like 3 other people that played the beta all the way back in June. And apparently one guy had been like, well, I had kind of screwed up and I had asked for way too much, and then things went south from there. So, oh wait, let me go back. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Let's continue forward.
We do not have a lot of experience dealing with higher up people like Meredith Stout, but we want to give you additional options that fit your life path very well. So later when you actually talk to the Maelstrom gang, one member of the gang offers you some illegal substance, but as a street kid, you actually know what this is about. You can talk some shop with him, and that might actually make that character like you a little bit more.
So Philip, I do have a couple of extra questions for you based on the video we just saw. And the first is about nomads. So the nomad life path, this starts in a place called the Badlands. Is this somewhere you get to visit even if you don't pick nomad to start with?
Yes, absolutely. So the thing is, Night City is surrounded by this huge landscape that we call the Badlands, and you can go there whenever you want. So as an example, if you actually do play the nomad life path at the start and you are in the Badlands, you can even see Night City on the horizon. And we want to give you the option later in the game, if you want, you can just take your car and drive out of the city. You can go there whenever you want. Thing is, you might not want to, because the Badlands can be a pretty dangerous place at first, because time has not been very kind to the Badlands. There have been many wars in the past, there's global warming, so most people that do live out there don't really have another choice about it, or are nomads that love this life and are all about it and are very battle-hardened. We of course also want to tell their stories, because we want to tell many different stories throughout the cyberpunk genre, which means that you will also find missions that lead you out in the Badlands or where you deal with the people living there.
So Philip, can you tell us a little bit more about the character, Padre? He's the guy we see giving his business card to street...
Sorry about that. For some weird reason, like whenever again, it just happened again. It's like I'm trying to slide over and go back and talk to or not go back, but press on one of my browsers. So let's talk about the Badlands here, because I didn't know that at all. I didn't know that you could go. I kind of had a feeling, but I thought specific missions were going to be in the Badlands. But to see, like, I don't know how big the Badlands is. I'm assuming the Badlands is bigger than Night City, because if you just like look at this shot of the Nomad vehicle just driving, where is Night City? I don't know where it is either. The Badlands looks really, really big. Also, I wish that they had put the HUD on as well, because I would want to know like how fast your car is going. I covered this in like a video a couple of months ago. I think when no. It wasn't even when Night City Wire had come out. It was like a couple of months before that. So it may have been like April or March. And I talked about how I thought the cars were a lot faster than what they showed off. Like, they showed off in 2018 your car going like 60 miles an hour. And I was like, I feel like this car could go to like 100. And then the Night City Wire gameplay came out, and they were like easily booking it at like 100 miles an hour. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So what I'm wondering is, it's like on these straightaways in these areas, it's like, how fast can the Quadra really go? You know, without traffic, without having to turn and all this stuff. It's like, how fast can these cars, these souped up vehicles really go? And then on top of that, it's like you start to see, like, I guess the desert, or not even the desert, but like the off-road upgrades for these cars. I'm kind of wondering if the same thing applies. Like a good example is this kind of like coupe here. I don't know what it is, but this car over here, that you can tell by the wheels and kind of by the build that this is an off-road vehicle. It's like, well, how exactly does the vehicle customization come into play? I think, in fact, I know that Cyberpunk, or CD Projekt Red, said that there won't be any vehicle customization, which it kind of sucks, but it's a head scratcher in the sense of, it's like, well, how exactly, like, if there's no vehicle customization, I'm guessing there's upgrades, but it's like, do the upgrades mean, like, can I upgrade the Quadra to function better off-road than on-road? Because it's obviously, you know, a street car, a city car, but it's like, can it roam about in the desert, or do I need to get another car so that way I can drive it outside of Night City in the desert? And yes, if you're wondering, it's like, can I have multiple cars in the game? Yes, you can. So they're showing Night City. Also, look at how big Night City is in the context of, like, where you are as a nomad. Like, Night City is a large place, and this game is a large game, and it's like, what exactly are you going to be doing in the Badlands is my question. Why would a better question is, why would I want to go out to the Badlands when everything is happening in Night City? You know? Like, the corporations, the people, the gangs, like, everything is, to me, everything interesting is happening in the city. Why would I ever want to go outside of the city? I'm not saying that the Badlands are just going to be like this place that you never want to go, but I'm just kind of like speculating that there are going to be reasons why you would want to go outside of Night City. Otherwise, why would you create this landscape, to be honest with you, that looks way bigger than Night City? Maybe not as densely packed as Night City, obviously, but it definitely looks like Night City is like a drop in the ocean in this game when it comes to like where you can go and what you can do and stuff like that. So let's continue forward.
Also want to tell their stories, because we want to tell many different stories throughout the cyberpunk genre, which means that you will also find missions that lead you out in the Badlands, or where you deal with the people living there.
So Philip, can you tell us a little bit more about the character Padre? He's the guy we see giving his business card to Street Kid V in the video. Who is this man?
Yeah, so Padre is actually one of the fixers in Night City. And fixers are people that work as intermediaries. So if someone who has a lot of money needs a problem solved, they go to a fixer. And a fixer then finds people who can solve that problem. And these people are people like you, V, cyberpunks. Fixers are very territorial. So Padre specifically works from Haywood, which is where you as a street kid grew up in, so you already know him. You might have already seen another one of our fixers, who is called Dexter Deshawn, and he works in a different part of the city. So specifically Padre, you might know him as a street kid, but even if you played other life paths, you might sooner or later meet him, because he's operating in Haywood, which is a pretty big place with many good jobs. So if you want to make some cash there, you will sooner or later deal with Padre.
Philip, thank you so much for joining us. Now, on my first playthrough, pretty sure I'm going to be picking Nomad, but for those watching, we would love to know what you'll be picking, so have a think about it and send us a tweet. Don't forget that later in this episode, we're going to be showing you another new gameplay video and having a chat to Pavel, our senior gameplay designer, about just some of the tools of destruction that will be at your disposal in Night City. But before that, let's talk about music, because music plays a huge part in bringing Night City to life. Now, in future episodes, we're going to talk about things like radio stations and even the original score. But today, we're going to take a look behind the scenes at how Refuse to bringing Johnny Silverhand's band, Samurai, to life.
So, context sake. Johnny Silverhand, for reasons that I will not reveal in this video, wait for the video coming out this week, Johnny Silverhand is a very important character in Cyberpunk 2077. In fact, in a lot of ways, the whole reason why the game is named Cyberpunk revolves around Johnny Silverhand and kind of you as well. And it's kind of important why, for example, the house, or not even the house, but the corporation that apparently you go and rob of the chip that has Johnny's consciousness in it is Arasaka. Like the corporation that had Johnny's consciousness, it was Arasaka. Like there's relevance to that as well. There's relevance to the music. There's relevance to the band that he's in. There's a lot of significance in Johnny Silverhand for reasons that I would not reveal until later on this week about John. Just a little bit of a teaser. I thought I would just give you a little bit, something, some bait to bite on before we continue forward.
I wouldn't write these lyrics for myself. So it's kind of interesting to get into like the mindset of who is this character and what would they write about, or what's their agenda. It's interesting to try to like catch a language that's his, and try to catch a language that's like a part of this game. There is a reason why we're here.
It was Piotr maybe who was a fan of the band.
He knew Refuse and he knew my voice, and he said, oh, that's a perfect voice for Johnny.
And that they wanted, I guess, a sound that was a bit contemporary from when Johnny's supposed to have had the band, because he's sort of like an anti-establishment kind of guy.
Gonna drag a corporal rat on stage, make him kneel, douse him with gas, then light him up.
So of course there are things that you can relate to, and like just like this outcast and this rebel that's fighting against like the corporals, and that's definitely something that's been a part of my life and a part of Refuse's life.
We came out of the punk rock scene of northern Sweden.
He's like the future version of us, So I think it makes sense. I think it totally makes sense for us to be here making these songs about him or for him, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No trills. But yeah, but like wide vibrato.
And then, just sort of build, slowly build sort of intensity.
We don't have a different mode than just going all in. So we really worked on these songs, trying to make them as good as possible. But then they're not actually our songs.
It's interesting as a musician to play another musician, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're not here as Refuse, we're here as Samurai. And I'm here with Johnny Silverhand, so it's like the voice we're representing here is someone else.
We'll never fade away!
It's been a mind fuck.
I mean, the shouting in itself is just like second nature to me because I've been doing this for a very long time. But then when someone comes in and says,
I'm happy with everything except for Azza Lynn. Again, it's Azza. Azza. Okay.
The shouting's great, but think of that accent or think of that like enunciation. It's a bit weird because it's a very different way of singing when you're screaming like that, and it's hard to sort of
Swallowing some syllables there.
adjust your accent.
Oh yeah, just try it again.
So it's been a bit kind of frustrating.
It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great.
But I mean, I get it. I mean, we have to maintain the illusion that this character that's a character of the game also is me, like when I'm singing it. So it makes sense. But yeah, it's a bit different to have someone telling you exactly how to enunciate things, because I'm not used to, usually people just like give me a thumbs up and then like, you know, you think the things like the rhythm and you think about the pitch and you think about all these things, but then someone comes in and like, that word sounded weird. I'm like, what? No, that's how I sing. But so it's been a very, yeah, a bit painful at times, but it's all right.
See this soon, I'm chipping in. Roll the bones, I'm chipping in. Belt that cone, I'm chipping in. Mayhem flows.
It's a very interesting thing to be part of.
That, I gotta pause it here. That was fucking awesome. That was fucking awesome. I don't know who that guy was, the like the audio director, talking about like the you know, the audio, not the audio, but like the the voice direction of the singer of I don't even know what the band is. I'm not Swedish. I'm American. But it was interesting to see like this small little part here, and then we'll move forward. It was interesting to see like this flashback, I guess, and I put this in air quotes, of you playing as Johnny. I was like, this isn't actually Johnny Silverhand. And then it's like, oh yeah, it is. Apparently you get to play as Johnny Silverhand. And again, for reasons that I will not reveal, he is very important to the, you know, to the story and what happened before. And it's not just, you know, him being, you know, a chip and him kind of being like a second consciousness. It's like there's relevance to why he was in Arasaka and stuff like that.
It's a very interesting thing to be part of. As a person that's not a gamer, I don't think I fully understand the impact that this might have. If people like these songs and if people are excited, then that's going to be great. I mean, we are spending a lot of times trying to get this right, trying to get it to sound like, you know, like Samurai would sound, you know. So it's quite interesting. It's a very different way of making music, actually.
All right. Awesome. How do I think, I think a quick question to ask is, how do I think the music will be used in the game? And how do I think, you know, Johnny Silverhand as a character will be used as the game? I don't know yet. I don't necessarily know. It's kind of like with Brain Dance about 2 months ago. I was like, I came away from, you know, that gameplay demo, or not even that gameplay demo, but Night City Wire, like in June. I was like, I'm confused. I don't understand how, like, Brain Dance ties into the gameplay that much. I understand how Johnny, for example, plays into the game, but I don't understand necessarily how his music would play into, like, the game. Kind of, besides like enacting as like a anthem for rebels and stuff like that, but I don't know. We'll see.
You can already find 3 Samurai tracks available on streaming services: Chippin' In, Never Fade Away, and The Ballad of Buck Ravers. But we're excited to announce a 4th new song called A Like Supreme, which is coming to streaming services today. That means you can check it out once the show is over. Don't forget that if you're tuning in late, or if you just want to watch anything again, we will be uploading everything to our channel soon. Next up, Pavel and I are going to introduce you to some creative ways that you can solve problems in Night City.
Sorry about that. My fucking computer ran out of battery, so I wasn't watching the battery at all. I was watching the fucking gameplay. So I'll edit this out. I'll edit like the bad part out, but I'll kind of like go back and stuff like that. Hold on. All right, let me go back to the beginning. Here we go. And then we'll watch it fully through, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. All right. Wrong fucking one. Oh my god. All right. So let's talk about it. So all the way back. So there's 3 different types of weapons within the game. There is your power weapons, your tech weapons, and then your smart weapons. Now, just to be clear, most of the weapons aren't your conventional types of weapons. So the cartridge-style assault rifles that, and even the shotguns, the pistols, that you would see and play with in Call of Duty, that is your power weapon. They're just guns that you put, like just freaking load the gun with bullets and then you shoot, right? That's your power weapons and things of that nature, right? The first weapon that they showed off, besides, the katana here, excuse me, and the pistol, is this sniper rifle. And Alana Pierce, I think she got it in the in her beta demo or whatever it was called. But in her 4-hour playthrough of the game, apparently she got this from killing someone with cyberpsychosis or a cyber psycho or something like that. She got it from killing that guy, and apparently it can like pierce through walls or shoot through walls. And this is the tech weapon. This is the first start of the tech weapons that show off in the game, right? This is apparently the Tsunami Nico Mata. Now, this is obviously a sniper rifle, and it even kind of gives like a weapon description. Tsunami defense system, semi-automatic chargeable APOS steel ammunition, pierces concrete like cardboard, sniper rifle. What tech weapons do over the power weapons, which are like your traditional types of weapons, is they fire electromagnetic projectiles that generate a lot more velocity, but they aren't necessarily as fast when it comes to a rate of fire as the other weapons. So with this particular weapon, it can obviously pierce concrete like cardboard. Arasaka, by the way, I think is the Arasaka is the developer of of smart rifles and smart guns. I don't know who's like the leader in tech weapons, but obviously they're semi-automatic, they're rail guns, stuff like that. Apparently this is also a tech weapon as well, because it deals, I guess, a lot of damage, or I don't know. So you can kind of see like with the power weapons, it's kind of a a base, assault rifle. They probably have a heavy pistol here. This is probably a semi-automatic shotgun and a pistol, right? So you kind of get the vibe of like this is kind of your normal. Oh, here we go. It even gives me a nice description of it. The Carnage budget arms, 4-gauge buckshot. It's time to slaughter. By the way, apparently you can buy guns from the vending machine as well, from vending machines, and this looks like the AR that they had. That's the LMG. This is the smart rifle, or the smart weapons. I didn't know that shotguns and sniper rifles apparently are smart weapons as well. Which begs the question, it's like, do I gain more proficiency with smart weapons as well? And if so, like, how does that work? Like, I guess a better question would ask, right? So let's say I constantly want to use pistols and assault rifles a lot, but I'm using smart weapons, which they're technically already aimbots within the game, right? Does that increase my weapon proficiency even though I'm not aiming and really handling the gun that much, or does it not? Because it's a weapon that literally fires gyrometric or gyroscopic projectiles. The Tiki-20 Shengen burst fire micro-guided missile smart weapons require a smart link to unlock the full potential of their targeting systems. What that means is smart weapons are linked to certain people via, I think, a SID scan. It stands for, hold on, let me find it. I think it stands for System Information Device. I have my notes that I took. Oh no, it's Subcutaneous Identification Device. That's what SID means. So this gun, like, you put your finger on it, you put your thumb on it, which is usually where your SID chip is located. It's located in your thumb. You put your thumb on it, bang, it unlocks the gun recognizes it's you. But apparently you can hack weapons, but you can't necessarily hack the full potential of the weapons if you just pick it off of a dead body. So, but this is kind of interesting that there's multiple different weapons like shotguns, and they even changed like the projectile sounds and the VFX of it as well, because it was completely different 2 years ago. But this is obviously the sniper rifle that they show off as well. And then they show off the katana. Oh, wait, let me go back to the weapon description of it. Oh, hold on. They also had like 3 or 4 other weapons as well. Electro, Alpha Baton, Spiked Bat, Sledgehammer, Tonto, which is like a short knife. This is obviously a katana. Nanofilament, Heated Blade, the purest essence of a katana. No add-ons, no modifications, only ripping hot steel. And they show you going up against... I don't know who these guys are. I don't know who you're fighting. It wasn't in the book. And then they go into cyberware, the mono wire, the projectile launch system, gorilla arms, and then the Manus Blade. Manus Blade is pretty self-explanatory. Modular device, or design, excuse me, with swappable blade edges, arm blades designed with lethality and concealment in mind, as effective as they are flashy. In the demo, they kind of, when we go forward a little bit, they'll show off like the different blades that you can have. Like one is an electro blade that probably messes with people's cyberware. Perfect timing. Like, does it literally on like the next couple of frames. It's like, here's the electro cyberware or Manus arms that you can have within the game, and then the gorilla arms are like probably reinforced arms with like metal knuckles and stuff like that you can pull gun turrets off and beat the shit out of people. And then you have the projectile launcher, varied warhead selection, a missile launcher in the palm of your hand, more or less. We already kind of went over this gameplay in Night City Wire like 2 months ago. And then it's interesting that you're loading all this up in your car, because I think you can only have 3 weapons equipped to your character at one time. Like, I think it's like a pistol and like 2 other weapons, and that's kind of it. So it's interesting that you can put a lot of your other weapons. This looks like 4, maybe 5 weapons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 if this is a weapon. This kind of looks like a pistol, kind of like this is the grip, and this is like, you know, the barrel, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe this is just like a shadow. But it looks, at the very least, we know it's like 5 weapons and you can only have 3. So it's kind of interesting to see that you can load them up in the Quadra and take them with you. Also, wasn't the trunk of the Quadra in the front of the car, not the back? I don't know. Maybe it's not the Quadra. Maybe it's a different car. So before we continue with that, just kind of go over some of what they showed off on some of, frick's sake, some of what they said. Let's kind of just go back just a little bit. Hold on. All right, here we go. So I didn't realize that with power weapons, and depending on like what you could do with certain weapons, I didn't realize, like, for example, power weapons as a whole could ricochet bullets. I knew that like your pistol, your base pistol that you have at the start of the game, like that gun can ricochet bullets, but I didn't know it was like, it was a thing with every single weapon. So I think they're about to show it off. Oh no, this is still like the trailer, right? Yeah. Where is it? Oh, no, I've already fucked up. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I fucked this up. My bad. Here we go. Here's what I wanted to talk about. So, with this shotgun, right, they show that you can ricochet bullets with it. And I didn't realize that, like, that's something that you could do with all of the guns in the game. I thought that it was only with, like, the pistol. But you can do it with all of the guns, apparently, in the game. And it's like, well, does that also work with assault rifles and with LMGs as well? Because it's like, it's interesting how essentially the developer is saying, like, we're going to give you essentially 3 different options to deal with cover. That's what I'm getting with all of these weapons, right? Like, and even not just with like cover, but with also with with different ways of fighting, because obviously the railgun and the smart weapons, they function different than the power weapons, but it's, you know, it's like if you're obviously going to be able to ricochet bullets, then that also means with these tech weapons, for example, you don't need to ricochet bullets, you can just shoot through their cover and kill them, right? And with obviously smart weapons, you don't even need to do, you know, to freaking ricochet or shoot through. It's like with smart weapons, you just shoot and the bullets track. And it's obvious, like, with all three of those, like, weapon choices and weapons, it's like, these are ways to deal with enemies in cover, like with that guy. And it's interesting, especially with these tech weapons, like, look at this. Like, you're tracking the enemy, this guy, through his cover. Like, you get this X-ray vision of him, and look at, like, the charge, right? You're gonna one-shot this guy, and he's gonna turn into a red mist, and you only shot one bullet. Like, how much damage can you honestly deal with some of these, like, tech weapons? And then on top of that, like, loadout-wise, it's like, do you have all three weapons in your kit, or do you just have, like, some of your best weapons when it comes to, like, fighting? Like, maybe you have, like, a railgun, not a railgun, excuse me, like a tech weapon, rifle, and then you have a traditional submachine gun, like a power weapon that's a submachine gun, and then you may have like an assault rifle that's a tech weapon, not a tech weapon, a smart weapon. I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see, like, essentially the types of weapons that you have allows you to break cover without actually, like, having to flank and shift and stuff like that. Or at least that's, like, the purpose that they're showing me is, or the purpose of the weapons that they're showing me right now, I guess. So, let's continue forward. What he just said is very, very interesting. So, in the game, you have different allies that you could potentially form via, you know, how you interact with gangs and corporations and other people and things of that nature. And, you know, I didn't know the weapon types. I love loot in video games. It's why I love battle royales a lot, because it's like you get to collect loot and stuff like that. When he talks about, like, loot caches and, you know, like going in and picking up weapons off of enemies, it's like, you know, like, I think a good question to ask is, like, I don't know, like, how realistic is that? Like, if I go into an enemy's base, for example, and if I find a bunch of, like, Maelstrom gang members, how many of their weapons can I take off their bodies? Or is it just, like, specific weapons off of specific people, I guess? I don't really know. But this whole notion that you can kill people to get their weapons is awesome. But also, who exactly are the people are we killing? Because I'm pretty sure it's like, I don't really care that much about Maelstrom gangs. And I probably don't really care that much about Militech agents. But it's a very interesting premise. I can't wait to see and learn more. Probably we won't see or learn more until the game is released and announced. But not announced, but it's released. It's already been announced. But no, we'll see. Again, very important what he just said. Because when we're talking about weapons and we're talking about leveling up weapons and things of that nature, and it being an RPG gameplay, or a game, excuse me, like, there are some weapons that you would probably get at the lower, not at the lower, excuse me, but at the beginning of the game that you would want to play with throughout the entirety of the game, or you could get in the mid game, or you wanted to get into, or you use them in the late game, and you're like, well, I don't want to swap weapons, but I also don't want to, like, deal less damage, so I have to go on and move on to other weapons. Like, this chip thing that you put that you put on your guns and weapons, it seems like to be the scaling feature, right, where your weapons now scale no matter what level they are, or no matter where you got them in the game, which is really awesome, because this is a huge issue in RPGs where you have a weapon or a tool or a piece of clothing that looks cool that you want to use for the entirety of the game, but you can't because it's under-leveled, and you have to go with, like, the actual level that you're at. Like, let's say if you're a level 10 and you're using a level 3 or 4 piece of clothing, it's like that clothing sucks, but you then have to find a piece of clothing that's your level, so that way you don't die easily, excuse me. That's kind of what I'm trying to talk about. And I think that's what he's talking about, by the way, as well. I think what he just said was pretty much everything that, like, I mean, I've been saying for the majority of the podcast, majority of the video. Again, different weapon types, different weapons in the game. And it's like, you have to ask the question, right? So there's a lot of weapons that you can find in loot or in loot caches. There's legendary weapons. He said, like, I think the weapon rarity when it comes to like the loot was uncommon, common, rare, and then legendary or something like that. Maybe there was a 5th tier that I'm missing. But again, it's like, how many weapons are there? Like, obviously we know the 3 types of weapons: power, tech, excuse me, smart. But numbers wise, is it like 30, 40? And I'm talking like guns. I'm not necessarily talking cyberware and melee weapons like katanas and tontos and stuff like that, but like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, this is the book that I got, by the way. This is the book that I got. I'll be talking about this later on in the week, but this is kind of like the book that I've been mentioning kind of constantly throughout the video. This is what I mean. This book. Oh yeah, that's it. Let me look up some B-roll and then I'll give you like some final thoughts and then we'll just peace out because I'm already like a couple like hours away from like when it was released. Maybe, and what I'm looking for right now is different gameplay, like B-roll. That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm not really looking for like anything else. I'm just looking for B-roll. So, some people have it, like just because they got it. I don't know how they got it, but some people have it. Other people don't. And if they obviously don't have it, then I'll just say deuces and then we'll leave. Yeah, this literally looks like all the B-roll. Yeah. Not all the B-roll, but like literally the footage that I just saw. I think I saw like this. No, it was something else. It was this. If he doesn't have it, then I'll just freaking end it here. Oh yeah, it's the exact same stuff. So, what did I see from... Hold on. Okay, I thought this was the actual gameplay. It's not. So, what did I see from the actual gameplay? What did I think of the actual gameplay? I mean, I felt that it was good. Like, I don't really have like that strong of an opinion about the gameplay because the gameplay maybe not like my opinion hasn't changed. My opinion is still that Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the best games that's being made right now, that's going to be released this year. That's probably, like, I've said it constantly. I've said, like, this is probably going to be one of the best games ever made. So, I don't think that has changed at all. I don't think Night City Wire has diminished that at all. I think it, in my opinion, has improved it. I think it shows the actual game working. Let me be very clear about something. I think what they've shown off today and what they showed off like over a month ago, actually it was like 2 months ago, really, I think it's legitimate. I think it's what we're going to get when it comes to the final release of the game, and I think it's going to be what we're going to play. What was it? Like, they kept on showing the release date. November 19th of this year? November 19th. It's what we're going to get. It's what we're going to play. I think it's legit. I can't wait for Night City Wire Episode 3. Whatever it's going to be about, whatever's coming down the pipeline, I can't wait to see what it is. Cannot wait to freaking play this game. I mean, to think that this game was supposed to be released, like, literally, not was, but is supposed to be, or yeah, it was supposed to be released, literally in a month. And then it got pushed back again to, obviously, freaking November. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Hold on. On the show right here. Hold on. Frick's sake. Ooh, wait. There we go. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been 24's podcast, the best video gaming and sports podcast on the entire internet. If you like this podcast, you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and RadioPublic. Pretty much where you can find any podcast, you can find my podcast, 24's Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, until my next video, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.